So thank you for the kind introduction, Julie. So I will present where we stand with the eArchiving conformance. So here's the button. Okay, I will give an overview what validation and conformance means in the eArchiving context. We'll present the auditing process for conformance. We'll then introduce the concept of the eArchiving Conformance Seal, and lastly, get indications how you can actually get started with that. So validation and conformance. So first of all, validation means testing an information package against a set of yes-no conditions. So those are expressed in terms of structural tests, XML schemata, and schematron rules. So just to briefly repeat, XML schema means that you can define data types and test against data types. For example, if a data type is a number, it must be a number. You can define on top of that complex data types and then validate against the schema if this is okay, because most of the eArchiving standards are XML based and can be tested using these schemata. And on top of that, schematron rules allow a bit more things that cannot be expressed by XML schemata. For example, dependencies between certain elements. You can then test against if these, let's say you have in one element the first page and in the second you have the last page, then the last page number must be higher. So these kind of dependencies you can express with schematron rules, and you can then test against that. And lastly, integrity tests. So there are different implementations of the validation. There is a Java-based implementation, Commons IP, which is used in Roda, and there is a Python-based implementation. Authoritative are the schematron rules because they are kind of implementation independent and are quite human readable. So they reflect what is specified in the specification and test that. But the real basis for the validation is the test corpora. So the test corpora is the set of files that has certain properties, which is then tested against the validation rules, and the validator must behave in a certain way. So it for correct information packages, for example, it must say they are valid. For certain errors that are introduced in examples, the validation result must throw an error. So that's how the validation generally works together with the test corpora setup. So conformance on top of validation. Validation is kind of the basis and the necessary requirement for conformance, because conformance of an archive means then actually that we have kind of the proof that the repository system, for example, that is used by an archive is using information packages that are valid against the eArch specifications. And so this cannot be proven for all the packages, but I will come back later to that when we come to the audit process, how to actually verify if packages of a repository system are valid against eArch specifications. So coming to the auditing process for conformance. So there is the basic level checks if the information packages are conformant against the eArch specifications for the SIP, AIP, DIP. So that means the basic level are the common information, the common specification for information packages is the basis for all of them. This is checked first. There are also structural tests. So let's say, for example, because the eArch specification is based on a given folder structure. So we check, for example, if there is representations, if there are representations, if the metadata folder is present, and these kind of first necessary conditions for structural tests. And then on top of that, certain tests for the SIP, AIP, and DIP levels. And on top of the basic level, there is the advanced level. Advanced level means that we test, for example, that the life cycle of information packages also produces valid information packages. This means if you have, for example, a migration action and creating a new representation with a new format in an information package, for example, that this is still containing a fully valid information package. And then there are the content information type specifications. Those are like, for example, for databases using eArchiving or geodata or health content type. And they also have their corresponding requirements that we can check against. And fulfilling these requirements would then be the advanced level, so a conformance plus. Yeah, so that's basically what I just have explained. So we need audit evidence. Information provided as an audit evidence. So the report needs to be, a report needs to be provided to us, which demonstrates the procedure for SIP, AIP, and DIP creation, including screenshots with corresponding explanations how the system was employed to create the information packages. We need a sample, a really small sample for the auditors, a selection of 3 information packages per type, SIP, AIP, and DIP. So a total of 9 information packages must be sent to the committee, and then together with system log files, just as an evidence to prove that a system was used to create those files. And the data needs to be provided so that in downloadable form with some URLs that we can download the packages and evaluate them. So the auditors. For each conformance audit, an auditor is selected, or more auditors, by DG Connect. So auditors fulfill certain requirements. They have the technical knowledge of eArch specifications. They have the skills to use the validation tools and can interpret the results. And they should be independent from any projects involved or the organization. They should ideally not know the people involved. And the auditee shall also nominate a reference person who could attend requests from the auditors to have a call back for certain detailed questions and so on. So the auditing process, after the information is provided, it will be reviewed within 3 months by the auditors. An interview with the applicant will be organized to allow asking detailed questions. Additional information may be requested, and the interview is repeated or might be repeated, some follow-up calls, for example, until it is really approved by the nominated experts. After a maximum of 2 weeks, the auditor provides an audit report, including the results of the testing and the recommendation of eArch Conformance Seal. Now we come to the Conformance Seal itself. So DG Connect provides the Conformance Seal accordingly with the auditor report. Just in case it fails, the applicant can make the requested changes and or corrective actions and then ask for a re-evaluation. What is the benefit of the Conformance Seal? So if desired, the conformant digital archives or solutions can be listed on an eArchiving web page, and a conformant digital archive or solution is allowed to make use of the eArchiving Conformance Seal logo. How to get started? That's quite easy and quickly told. So just get in contact with office at e-arch-foundation.eu and follow the instructions provided by the eArch Foundation team, which will guide you through the process for acquiring the eArchiving Conformance Seal. Thank you. That was it from my side.